You're joining us today in the RSR Nürburg workshop, where we have hit two important milestones with our 992 GT3 RS. In today's maintenance stop, we're doing both the tires and the brakes, and we thought this is the perfect opportunity to give you a little bit of an insight as to what it takes to run this car on two of Europe's most grueling racetracks. We mentioned brake pads, and you're joining me here now with Andrea next to a brand new set of WinMax brake pads about to be fitted to our 992 GT3 RS. Now, Andrea, I know we run these pads in all the cars in our rental fleet. Maybe you want to explain a little bit about the compound and why we decided to run these pads in our new 992.
We run in all cars the same compound, which is WinMax HD 101. This has been introduced to us by WinMax some years ago after they won in the category GT4 with the BMW M3, the Bathurst 12 hours race.
Cool.
With an impressive consumption of less than a millimeter per hour.
Okay.
And the biggest advantage of this compound is that it's working already from very cold, starting to work from 50 degrees. And it's able to withstand performances and temperatures up to 600 degrees.
Wow, that is impressive. And I suppose that's really, really important when running a fleet of rental cars, especially here at the Nürburgring. Most of the time we're on public days. Also, the weather can maybe be a bit cooler. So you're saying that these pads perform very well, low temperatures, likewise at higher temperatures as well?
This is correct.
That is impressive.
And this is also being tested currently in some of the TCR race cars. And I know that Tom Coronel was actually enthusiastic of this compound the last time they did some testing in Belgium.
Before we go ahead and fit those brake pads, and since we already have the car on the lift, perhaps we can spend just a few minutes talking about all the aero. From where I stand, I'm seeing lots of holes and fins and vents. Andrea, could you maybe just explain in a very brief detail what this all is and how it helps the car?
So it's not only what you see on the outside, but some tricks and magic is also happening on the underside. You can see here we have an active element. It's opening and then is allowing flow. To not forget to mention the wing-shaped element of the suspension.
Yeah, I see them there. They actually feel like an airplane wing. They're like kind of oval in front and then pointed at the back. Wow, okay.
They produce quite some downforce. Just this alone produces something like the 10% of the total of the front.
And I also believe this little bit of active aero in front here works in conjunction with the rear wing, is that right?
Correct, yes.
Now, I see these channels or these fins. I know on our GT4 RSs we've got nearly not quite as many as here. What are those in aid of?
Yeah, so this is a more complicated version of what you can see in the GT4 RS.
Okay.
There is one that is specific to bring cold air to the brake system.
See.
All the rest is an enhanced version of what you see in the other car to clean the flow under the body and to make the diffuser work better. There is a lot of smart heat management and airflow management under the car.
Let's have a look in the back. Okay.
So we can start again from the air direction to the calipers. You can see that this is shaped in a way to bring cool air to the brakes. Something very similar to what was in the very first GT3 in a much simpler way. This is much more elaborate and probably twice as efficient. You can see here that there is also a cooling duct just for the drive shaft. This is something that is probably coming from their experience in the Cup Car series. I've seen this already in the 997 GT3, for example, in the Cup Car. Then the diffuser that we mentioned before with all the cooling for the back.
I also noticed that these are made out of plastic.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that these are consumables?
Yes, you're assuming right. These are consumables and they are made in plastic because when it's time you can actually replace them.
Okay.
The car is bottoming out quite a lot, especially because we're talking about high downforce. So let me show you something here. You can see that this has been scraping already, and I think this is happening in Spa when you do Rouge Radillon at quite high speed.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the fact that the rear wing up top, and we'll get to that shortly, can produce up to about, what is it, 800 kilograms of downforce?
Yes.
That's a lot, you know? Okay, so a lot of downforce pushes this little bit down into the ground, and obviously we all know a Rouge has that nice bit of compression in there, and that's the result. I see. Okay, so now I think let's go and have a look at that big rear wing. Okay, so I mean, talking about rear wings, this is probably as big as they get, or rather as big as they're allowed on a German road car, is that right?
Yeah, this is correct. I think this was never seen before in a GT3.
And you know, like I mentioned earlier, 800 kilograms of downforce?
800 kilograms of downforce. And this is a proper DRS system that you can activate with the different modes that you find on the steering wheel. On a straight line, this is basically turning into a flat wing and is reducing the drag.
So this would open up, yeah?
Yes, while under braking, it's helping you to slow down the car. And I can tell you by experience that from the passenger side, you can hear this acting. You can hear the whistle of the air hitting the wing.
Cool.
But Ray, it happens that we have actually one of the early 911s on the other lift in the workshop here, and we can see how much the aero has been developed compared to that model. That car already at the time was considered cutting edge.
Cool, well I would really like to see the difference between the old and the new model, so let's go take a look.
So you can see already the biggest difference is the bonnet, which is not vented in this model. There is a vent for the radiator, but this is a more traditional radiator setup.
Okay, and you know, just looking at this previous gen versus the new gen, I see on top of the roof of the new gen, it's got those two little fins. Now, I believe that is to direct warm air away from the front of the car, obviously from the front rather, and out towards the back, so that the engine in the rear is only taking in cold air.
Yeah, this is 100% correct.
All right.
Then you can see clearly that the rear wing, it's much smaller.
Although it isn't that tiny. I mean, I remember when we first got this car, this was considered a pretty big wing, but when comparing this to the new model, it's a lot smaller.
Yeah, it's a lot smaller. It's a fixed wing. There is no active aero in this car.
Sure.
Also, you can see the shape of the bonnet is completely different.
Okay, yeah.
We will also see under the car that is not as complicated as that. It's a much simpler way to manage air flows and stuff.
Well, let's get it up in the air and have a quick look.
Yeah.
I mean, I still notice it's pretty flat under here, but not to the extreme that the new one is.
Yeah, that's correct. This is all managed in a much simpler way. This is more looking like an engine protection plate than a diffuser.
Yeah.
As you can see, the back box is not even covered.
It's exposed, yeah.
There are some, we can call them NACAs down there to direct some airflow.
Okay.
But all in all, yeah, this is a very simple flat bottom.
Okay, so that covers the rear end of both cars. Let's have a quick look at the front and check out the differences there.
So yeah, apart from the fact that you can see that this car had already quite a life experience, let's say, we can still see there are no fins like in the GT4 RS and in the 992 GT3 RS.
Yeah.
So it's a much simpler setup also in the front.
Yeah, I see the air is managed in a much more simpler way than the new model. But I see they have tried, like you said, with these cooling ducts. Very, very impressive to see the difference between the old and the new model. Well, I think the only thing left to do is let's stick them onto the car.
So here you can see the OEM pads being worn out. This is actually not the first set that we use on the car. And now we decide to remove the brake pad wear sensor. You can clearly see that in these pads there is no slot for the brake pad wear sensor. being obviously race pads. We try to do this in most of our rentals, just to simplify things. Okay, and basically that is it. We just have to repeat this 3 more times, but in general for these cars it's quite an easy task to do a brake change. Okay, so we just finished to install brand new brake pads front and rear, and now we're about to fit these 275 wide tires, which is the biggest tires we've ever seen on a GT3 so far. This time we go for Goodyear because Michelin was not available, and then we're ready to go.
And finally, with fresh brakes and fresh tires fitted to our 992 GT3 RS, it's ready for another 5,000 kilometers in your hands. But we couldn't end the video right there. We've got to hear what this thing sounds like on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. So let's jump on board with Ron Simons and take a good listen to what a flat six sounds like at full screen.
very good. Very, very good.